The problem, in my opinion, with the economy right now is that we, as a nation, we have gotten used to having things cheap, and on top of that, we have gotten to a point where we prefer to pay people very little money for their work, which is unfortunate because that is creating chaos for a lot of people, where people are just struggling paycheck to paycheck. There's no longer pensions. There are no longer health insurance. If you are lucky, you get offered health insurance that it probably doesn't pay um, cover a lot, and it costs a lot of money to in terms of premiums. But the biggest one is the low wages, because in all honesty, low wages affect everybody. Everybody, regardless of where you are. Minimum wage in the United States is only $7.25 an hour. In New York State, in here where I live, right now it's 15.50 an hour. But that's barely covers everything. It's not even good enough. If you go on Google and you type like what's the wage that is a livable wage in New York, this is below that number. You need to have about $23, maybe 24 an hour to be able to afford everything. The cost of rent here in New York State is expensive in the first place. Um, my work pays me $18 an hour. This is how much I'm earning right now with my job. It's a difference of $2.50. It's still not enough. After taxes, I'm earning less than the minimum wage working full time, which is awful. Um, Especially now, like I got a car and I my car running, and I spend with my car I spent $762 on my car just to get my car fixed. It was the issue with the other system, and then 247 just as this past week because I needed to inspect my car and I had to put two new tires so that way my car passes inspection. So I spent overall $1,000 and $1,000 in my car. I don't have credit cards. I don't like credit cards. I depend on my income. I don't like credit cards because credit cards is just debt, and I don't like to get myself in debt. I went bankrupt one time, and I learned the lesson of not getting credit card because you get used to spending credit cards money that you don't have, but then you have to repay it back, and the problem is if you don't earn enough money, that debt accumulates, that interest start adding up, piling up. Before you know, you can end up with 10,000 or more dollars in a lot in debt. And because of that, I don't believe in credit cards. I don't want to get a credit card. I don't want to use a credit card. I want to live out of my own income. I want to live with my own money within my means. And I control my spending. I'm not like the crazy person. I don't go purchasing everything. And it's difficult, but still, this is not enough, especially when I have to deal with car expenses, because these are the things that are a driving factor when it comes to having enough income. Any emergency with a car can affect me dramatically, and I'm also considering getting a new car. And if I get a new car, I will have to get into myself into debt, and I don't want to do that. Um, it's a tough time to live in the United States, and in all honesty, I don't know how we as a nation were going to get out of this because honestly, with my family in Puerto Rico, this to me is not enough. This to me is it can be better, you know, which is why I'm still searching for a different job. I know my skills. Just I'm getting underpaid right now, and regardless whether I've been late to work or not, or whether um, I miss a day of work or something like that, whatever it is still this This is being getting underpaid. Because if I make it on time, I will still get paid $18 an hour. If I'm late, I still get paid $18 an hour. Doesn't 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 do anything. That's still a bad wage. And I regret not negotiating this job because usually I go to job interviews and I try to negotiate my wage, and I didn't do that when I went to the interview for this. I've asked for a little bit more. And now I find myself into the game of like, oh, prove yourself, because here we have to prove ourselves that we're worthy of getting enough money to be able to afford to live in this planet. It's ridiculous. It's, yeah. But for me, this is not enough. Especially with all the expense that I have, the rent, and I'm lucky I live with somebody else and I have a roommate. But if I wanted to live alone, and I'm getting to a point that I would prefer to live alone, I cannot afford that on that wage. Um, it's not possible. It's really not. Like even right now, I was looking at a news article, and it was a news article from Puerto Rico, and they were talking about teenagers or newer people staying living with their parents because they cannot afford to move out. So they have to live with their parents. They are not living in their houses. And I can blame them because honestly, the starting wages are so low. It's like, oh, here's a starting wage of $15 an hour. Go and tell your landlord that you need a starting rent. They're going to laugh at you. You know, the issue in this country is that we have gotten so used to pay people very little money that we are putting people into poverty. We're pushing people into poverty. And there are no jobs. Manufacturing is out in other countries. Even if manufacturing jobs were to come back, automation. Nobody talks about automation. Automation. Automation will replace some jobs in manufacturing. Um, and it means that the jobs that manufacturing will generate are going to be less. So we have a problem. I'm getting to a point that instead of increasing minimum wage, I do think that we should get into UBI, Universal Basic Income, because if corporations are going to pay people very little money, jobs are going to be part-time. We know part-time jobs don't pay bills, so we're going to have to give people universal basic income so that way they have some money to be able to afford to pay for their basic needs, because this is ridiculous, you know. And then companies, if you don't have a car, they look at you kind of funny, like in here, if I go to an interview and say that I don't have a car, and I experienced that before I got that car. Before I got my car, I will go to a job interview and I will mention I don't have a car, and the interviewer eyes will be like, "Oh my gosh, you don't have a car? How dare you not to have a car?" I mean, a car is an expense. If I had a new car, or even if I would purchase a car, I would have to pay a certain amount, and the car prices are so high that I bet you I will have to pay 300 or more for a freaking car. That's not affordable. Not with this. I can't afford a new car. I really can't, honestly. Anyway, and I'm not making this to make people have pity. I'm just making this to show how difficult it is to be able to make it here in the United States. And I have education. People will tell me that, oh, get an education. I have an education. I have student loan debt too. This is how much I have in student loan debt right now. This is how much I owe in student loan debt. This amount of money. And I have education, but I work in something. I work in retail because I cannot find a job in my field. And I studied chemical engineering. I'm super smart. I work in science. And I can tell you that I'm struggling. And it sucks. It totally, completely sucks. And again, this is awful. This is making my life more difficult, making me reconsider whether I should stay living here or whether I should go move back home with my parents just to save some money. This is a big problem. And I'm probably not the only one that has been thinking about it. And I'm on my 50 and I'm single. I depend on my own income. I'm not married. I don't have anybody else to take care of me. I depend on my own fucking income. Anyway, that's all I got. Rant over. Have a great day. Bye.